Welcome to the Clear to Send podcast, a podcast about wireless engineering, where we educate you on Wi-Fi technology, talk about design tips, troubleshooting, interviews, and the tools. Here are your hosts, Roel and Francois.
Today's show is brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering our listeners a free audiobook with a 30-day trial membership. Just go to audibletrial.com/clear2send and browse the fantastic selection of audio programs. Download a title free and start listening. It's that easy. Again, go to audibletrial.com/clear2send. Hey everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of the Clear to Send podcast. We're going to do or play this pre-recorded episode that we did at Cisco Live, and we met with Christian Gauer, who's a technical marketing engineer with Cisco, and he's focused on location-based analytics. So Francois, who is our co-host today. Hello, Francois.
Hi, Roya. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Doing good. Just doing a lot of Wi-Fi lately, actually, which is good. So I'm kind of interested in hearing about this location-based analytics again. Definitely want to re-listen to this episode because I am doing a little bit more of that at work, and just want to see if there's any other use cases for something like this. And I just want to say, in this episode, in the beginning, Francois, your recording was a little low, but then we fixed that later. I think the microphone just wasn't turned on for you, and they turn it on a little bit shortly. It was after Christian introduces himself.
I remember I didn't have the wireless mic. You guys had a wireless mic, and I had like a handheld.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they forgot to turn it on.
It's okay.
Well, before we get to the episode, we do want to mention some of the news that came out, right? The latest news is Arista acquires Mojo Networks. What do you think about that, Francois?
That's a big news.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, we recently did a recording episode with the CEO of Mojo. So that's a big news. I don't know much about Arista. But
what I do know is they were mainly a data center company, so they do a lot of data center switches. But if you were paying attention with Arista, they did have a solution, which was the Cognitive Campus, where a lot of their solution was leveraging their EOS, their software, comparable to like the iOS, and getting into the campus having this software-driven solution. And it kind of made sense, right, to acquire Mojo Networks if they're going to do this Cognitive Campus. Mojo Networks was doing the cognitive Wi-Fi.
Yeah, exactly. So it's from what I see, it's a strong SDN company acquiring another a wireless company heavily focused on software. So like you said, it makes sense.
Yeah, so we'll see how that plays out for them in the future. And if you want to listen to that episode that we did with Mojo Networks, that was clear2send.net/128, where we spoke with the CEO. I thought that was a very good discussion where they were talking about their white box Wi-Fi initiative, and we'll see if that continues to play out after being acquired by Arista in May.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's good for both parties here. But again, we're seeing that companies are wanting to expand their services and portfolios, and Arista being a publicly traded company, my guess is the shareholders wanted them to expand out further with new solutions, as they've been focusing on data center switching for quite a while.
Yeah, and hopefully that won't affect what Mojo was working on, right? The white label APs and all those cool stuff.
Yeah, I feel like they're going to keep Mojo Networks focused on the Wi-Fi. I think that would be a very smart decision to do. Who knows if they're going to come out with newer products. But yeah, I've already seen interest in some of the Arista guys trying to get more information on learning more about Wi-Fi. And one person that I spoke to directly was already looking into CWNP certifications, and I said, "You're on the right track.
Wow.
That's where you should start."
That's awesome.
So we'll link out to the press release from Arista into the show notes. That's cleartosend.net/132 is going to be the show notes there. And then the other piece of news that recently came out, I think this was a day ago that I saw on being shared on Twitter, is this new attack or a crack on WPA and WPA2. Now, I haven't been able to replicate this whatsoever, and the gist of it is it's using this was shared out by Hashcat, and they're attacking just a component of like a pre-shared key network, which is just one EPOL frame is all they need. And they're using HCX dump tool, HCX tools, and Hashcat to try to recover the PSK. Yeah. And they say they can do it, but they don't know how many of devices are affected by this. But definitely affecting 802.11i, probably also affecting 802.11r networks, because it's targeting just one message of the four-way handshake.
They said the attack was discovered accidentally while looking for new ways to attack the new WPA3 security standards. So,
yeah.
In one way, it's good that we get new security standards because we get to even, further test the one we actually have.
Yeah, this is a reason why every single vendor out there should implement WPA3 and OWE. So let's get on it with supporting newer security protocols, so that way we can secure our wireless networks. And and you can tell there's already people trying to crack WPA3, but they do say it's much harder to do.
Yeah, I wonder if it works for any password or if it's just for like easy passwords.
Yeah, my guess it would be for easy passwords, because they're looking at the PMK ID, and then they use Hashcat or one of those three tools to try to figure out what the password is, right? So I'm guessing if you're using a complicated password, then it might be more difficult to do, or it might take too long for an attacker to do. But yeah, other than that, it's just we need to start moving towards WPA3 and using SAE, the simultaneous authentication of equals. Well, that's it for the news. We do want to remind everybody that we are doing a giveaway of the CWS and CWT study guide. We're going to have two winners that'll get a bundle of both of those study guides. And it's really easy to sign up. We just started doing these episodes where we talk about some of the RF basics. And so these books are fairly new, that came out from CWNP, and I think it's they're very entry level. So if you're just getting into learning Wi-Fi and you want to learn a little bit more, or maybe you want to, you're in sales and you want to really sell Wi-Fi properly and talk intelligently about Wi-Fi, this is a good place to start. And the giveaway form is going to be on cleartosend.net/131, which is also a good episode for you to start learning Wi-Fi. That's actually where I sent my buddy who works at Arista to this episode. There's a form there on that show notes page. All you got to do is fill it out, and then we will announce the winner soon.
Yeah, it's a pretty good giveaway. 2 books. The value of the 2 books is $50 each, so you get give over $100. It's all you have to do is register on the website. So it's pretty easy. Is it only for the US? Good question.
I don't think so. So
okay,
I'll leave it open.
Nice. I like that.
We'll see how it goes. I was given some codes for the winners, so we want to thank CWNP for providing these textbooks, these study guides for people to learn more. And I think it's a great way to get more people into the CWNP program. All All right. So what else do we have next? Well, if you do like these new episodes that we're doing about RF basics and a lot more of the CWS, CWT, and CWNA level topics, we want to remind you guys to leave us a review on iTunes and let us know what you guys think. It's a way to show if our episodes are valuable and resourceful to you, and it lets others know as well about whether or not they should listen to Clear to Send. So we do appreciate that if you leave a review for us. And that's pretty easy to do. It just takes about 2 minutes, and you go to cleartosend.net/iTunes, and it'll bring you there to our iTunes page. And so now we have our new segment, which is 10 questions. I'll call it 10 questions with Francois.
Sure.
Well, how about you go and introduce who our next interview is with?
Yeah,
on the 10 questions.
So this week in the 10 question interview, we have Greg Skeen. So I'm not going to tell much about Greg because obviously he's going to present himself. But we met Greg at it was like
Cisco Live.
Yeah, it was like a meetup organized by Wi-Fi Training at Cisco Live. And so we had like a gathering of a whole bunch of Wi-Fi people. It was very nice. And so we got to interview Greg. And so here it is, the 10 question interview of Greg Skeen.
What's your name?
Greg Skeen.
Where do you live?
I live here in Orlando, Florida.
Where were you born?
Brooklyn, New York.
What is special about that place?
It's home. It's home. It's where my family and where my roots are.
What is your job?
My job is a wireless engineer at Walt Disney World.
Why did you decide to do the work you're doing now?
I chose it because it's my passion. It's what I get fulfillment from, and what I say is what I'm called to do. I'm called to,
What would you do if you were not doing Wi-Fi?
I would be educating and teaching our younger generation about technology.
What could you give a 40 minutes presentation on without absolutely no preparation?
On understanding and knowing your passion and what you're called to do.
What is something you think everyone should do at least once in their lives?
I say travel the world and see places.
What do you think your job would look like in 10 years?
10 years, I think everything would be automated, and I think wireless engineers will always be around.
Thank you, Greg.
You're welcome.
That's a good news for us, right?
Yeah, it is.
We'll still be around in 10 years.
I hope so. I'm still young. I need to be working in Wi-Fi. Well, if you guys heard, he works at Walt Disney World, and right after Cisco Live, I did go to Disney World for about 4 days, and I will say the Wi-Fi there is fantastic.
Right. So thank you, Greg, I guess.
Yeah, thank you. And good job on hiding those APs and antennas.
Oh, yeah. That's a work by its own.
All right, so why don't we get into our interview with Christian Gauer, technical marketing engineer with Cisco, and we're going to talk about location-based analytics. So here is the episode.
Hey everybody, welcome to Cisco Live Orlando. This is great to be here, right, in this space. We're here doing the Clear to Send podcast, and we're going to talk about location-based analytics. But before we start going into the technical details, we have some introductions here to make. I am Roel Dionisio, co-host of the Clear to Send podcast, and we also have your other co-host here.
Francois, co-host of the Clear to Send podcast as well. Happy to be here, and we also have Christian Gauer from Cisco. Let's talk about location analytics. Hi, Christian, how are you?
Good, thank you.
So why don't you present yourself? Tell us, where you're from, what you do at Cisco, so we can get an idea of.
Sure. I'm Christian Gauer, technical marketing engineer at Cisco. I'm based out of Germany, Munich. I lived there for about 20 years. Meanwhile, at Cisco, I'm part of the team around mobility. my personal role is focusing on everything that has to do with location-based services.
Awesome. So, yeah, I mean, you and I are fairly new, Francois, to location-based analytics. My experience with it is all I've done is install CMX and maybe added one building to it. But there's a lot of things that as I got into it, there's so much to consider when it comes to location-based analytics. And I know here at Cisco Live, I don't know how much you know about the implementation here, is they've got some sort of location-based analytics as well, or location-based services. Maybe we could talk about the difference between those two as well. But what do you know, Francois, about location-based analytics?
I haven't worked on many projects on location services yet, but that's something I'm interested in. And I think with more and more IoT devices coming onto our networks, that's data we can use and utilize to take some decisions. And maybe we can talk with Christian about the different levels of location, right? Right before the recording, we were talking about expectation. Do you want to cover that a little bit?
Sure. Maybe we start in general with location-based services, because analytics is just one of the use cases we're seeing here.
Okay.
And here at Cisco Live, for example, we do wayfinding. How do you locate a device indoors for wayfinding when there's a roof on top, really shielding it from GPS? Mm-hmm. And this is a big venue. How did I get here?
Yeah, we got 30,000 people here.
I use the Cisco Live app. There's a map inside. I can click on the button, which allows me to locate myself. I entered the booth number, and it showed me a blue line on the map where I needed to go, because we are here in the world of solutions, and just looking at a sign is not really helpful, because
there's too many signs. It's hard to figure out where you're going.
So that's how I got here, and my location was calculated by a CMX box, which is back in the NOC.
Okay.
We have access points in the ceiling here, of course, and they are doing, and sorry for being technically very incorrect here, we are doing multilateration. Everybody usually says we're doing triangulation.
Yeah.
Okay. But here we are just using access points, which are measuring the distance or guessing the distance based on RSSI.
Yeah.
Okay.
Drawing circles, so it's a distance-based method of locationing. We could get more accurate if we would use angle of arrival. We have the hyperlocation solution for that.
Yeah.
And then we can talk about multi-angulation, because it's always more than 3 access points part of the show.
Okay, so you definitely need more than 3.
3 is the minimum,
detailed. Right? So why is 3 the minimum?
Triangulation.
Because it's triangulation.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah.
But if you do wireless location, you have to be somehow inside the convex hull of your access points. What shapes can a convex hull have when you have 3 APs? It's a triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not very
my room
accurate.
has 4 corners. It starts with that.
Okay.
Yeah. So in any location project, when you start for a small POC and you want to test something, and you have a room which is maybe a little bit larger, like 30 by 30 feet or something, please start with 4 APs in the corners.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so then you create a convex hull which has the shape of the room you're in.
So you want to delimiter the shape of the space that you want to do location in?
Yes, you're really... how do you start doing Wi-Fi coverage? When you do a site survey, you start at one end of the building, you put an access points in the corner, and see how far it gets.
Yeah.
And that's your first location for the AP when you do traditional Wi-Fi coverage.
Yeah. You got to place an AP somewhere to get started.
Yeah, but
same thing with
you
analytics.
need to reach the corner. Yeah, that's why you could measure it the other way around. But for location, you have to start at the perimeter, at the outside corners, at the outside wall. So really, you are creating a convex hull around the venue.
Okay. So before we even talk about deployment and kind of those requirements, why would anyone go into location-based analytics? Like, what's the purpose? What is the business use case there that involves us as engineers to deploy this for our customers or clients or our workplace?
So everybody wants to know what's going on. Here at Cisco Live, we want to know how many people are passing by this area, my booth. If you go for top use cases are basically, or top users are retail. They want to know what's going on in their shop.
Yeah.
How much time are people spending in their shop?
And where?
Like in which section of the shop?
Maybe also in which section of the shop. The interest from retail often goes down to an aisle.
Okay.
And they want to know which product you're looking at.
That's
Here
very
we are
precise.
a little bit beyond what we can do with Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
But then think about an airport. They want to know how much is going on in security, what's the average wait time there.
Yeah.
Are there people crowding at the gates because 2 planes at the same time arrived while 2 other planes didn't leave the airport? How much seating do we have at the airports currently? It's not enough seats to fill the plane, right? So if everybody would wait in front of the gate, not everybody will get a seat. And so you can measure congestion areas. So it's transportation and retail who are main interests in that.
I talked to a customer one day, and they were in the transport business, and they wanted to know the flow of people coming in and out of their stations. That was like a transit station, and they wanted to know how many people was going through in order to know how much they could charge for advertisement for the billboard they would have in their stations.
Advertisements.
Yeah. So that's another use case of how they could use this data for the business, for any other business cases.
Yeah. Now we should maybe talk a little bit about the different levels, what we can really achieve with Wi-Fi.
Sure. Yeah, let's go into
set
that.
the right expectations. Let's think about a coffee chain with tens of small shops in a city. They offer free Wi-Fi, then manage to get you on board with the Wi-Fi, because every time you enter the shop, your iPhone or Android device connects to the Wi-Fi automatically, which is good.
You mean the green one with the white lady on?
No, I'm talking about the other ones.
Okay.
So you're getting in there. Your device connects, which is very good for Wi-Fi analytics. If your device is not connecting, how can you recognize the device then? Technically, it would probe, would say, hey, is there Wi-Fi for me?
Yeah.
But looking at the newer devices, iOS or Android, they're using something we call MAC randomization.
Yeah.
And they're changing the MAC every 60 seconds.
I've seen that with my CMX installation. I cannot find my iPhone.
As long as it's not connected. Once it is connected, it is using its real burnt-in MAC address.
Okay.
We can identify it and we can start tracking it.
Okay, so does that cause a problem for a lot of these customers if they're even trying to figure out how many people are there but aren't, I guess, engaged with them somehow through Wi-Fi?
So it's a kind of marketing problem, of course, because why should I connect to the Wi-Fi? You have to give me a reason.
Right.
At the airport, I'm there multiple hours maybe because of a layover.
Yeah,
and
makes sense.
Then I use the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
When you just go for grocery shopping, why should you connect to the Wi-Fi? They have to offer me something. This is a marketing problem, not a technical problem. Technically, I can
Technically,
configure
it's
the
easy
Wi-Fi.
to put that up there for them.
Yeah, no problem. But from a marketing perspective, what will I get for it?
Yeah.
Could we leverage like technologies like Hotspot 2.0 Passpoint, where your phone will automatically roam to the Wi-Fi and then get this data from the Wi-Fi?
Hotspot 2.0 Passpoint is a fantastic solution for mobile operators.
Yeah.
Because they can hook on any Wi-Fi SSID and put their Passpoint 2.0 stuff below it.
Yeah.
So your device would automatically connect. But then the retailer would need to work together with a mobile operator.
Yeah.
So that the authentication of Passpoint 2.0 would work on their network.
Yeah.
It would be one of the possible solutions, which I really, really like, especially for airports. Why not?
Yeah.
Every airport, there's one of the mobile operators, T-Mobile, Vodafone, AT&T, offering the Wi-Fi there. Why not use it? Exactly this way, that the airport buys the access points, maintains the infrastructure, and rents it as an uplink, as a Wi-Fi offload to the mobile operators. And then the airport would be able to get the analytics and location-based services out of it immediately.
Just a lot more politics involved with the operators, and it's not technically it would be the perfect solution. But
I would say it's a very fine line that you cross there, right? With marketing and then the technical teams involved. But let's say you get past those hurdles. Maybe briefly talk about the technical requirements in order to get good analytics, location-based analytics. Because it's going to be good data in, good data out, right? If you garbage in, garbage out, your analytics won't be there to tell you anything useful if you don't have actually a good deployment, good design. And we're talking a different kind of design, because if you're dealing with location, like we were talking earlier, you need more than 3 APs for this, right?
Our show is brought to you by Audible. Did you know you can ask Alexa to read a book to you? I have an Alexa Dot in my house, and I had my favorite book being read to me, Ready Player One. It was really awesome because audio makes great audiobooks, whether you like to listen to books to get your mind somewhere else or whether you like to learn. Sometimes I like to read biographies. I've been an Audible listener for over a year, and I absolutely love it for my commute. You will too, because the selection on Audible is phenomenal. It seems like every book that comes out in print is also in Audible. So for you guys, you can go to audibletrial.com/clear2send and you can get a book for free right now. Download it and start listening within a few seconds. So again, that's a free book for you guys. Download it at audibletrial.com/clear2send.
So technically what you need, of course, is access points on the right location. So please do a proper site survey. Keep the design principles for location-based services in mind, coming from the outside, creating the convex hull around the area you want to cover. Of course, you have the controller, you have your CMX system, and CMX itself is doing the analytics for you. But then it comes down to the point, how accurate is it?
Yeah.
With RSSI-based, you can get up to 5 meters, 15 feet. If you do it angle of arrival-based hyperlocation, it can be 1 to 3 meters accurate at 50% of the time. We are doing location. It's just statistics.
Yeah.
So it's always a little bit jumpiness. It depends how good your Wi-Fi design is. But it's always something like you have a 50% chance of maybe 2 meters, a 75% chance your measurement point is inside 3 meters, and a 90% chance is inside 4 meters, for example.
Because I think that's so important when a company comes to you, the IT team, and says, we need to do location-based analytics.
Yeah.
And they'll probably assume that they're going to use the existing infrastructure and be like, we're good with this infrastructure, we can do this. Not knowing that you might have to go back to them and say, we got to actually redesign our location. Is that something that has to happen?
Not necessarily. If you are okay with a not so good accuracy, you're good to go. Coming back to the coffee chain. How many access points would you need to cover a store?
Just one?
A coffee chain, just one AP.
Yeah.
One AP. Maybe in the larger shops downtown, 2. Just for coverage. What can you get out of it? It's already location information when I'm connecting to this AP, because you more or less know I'm inside this store.
That's kind of like what they use for all the home, smart solutions for the smart homes. They kind of have, when you connect it to the Wi-Fi, they use that as a input to know that you're inside your house. That's a presence.
Yeah, that's presence.
So this, it sounds like you're leading more towards some sort of engagement, using analytics and saying, I have this many customers who are loyal. They come here X amount of days per week. They stay this long. You get that kind of data, because they're not going to be, I don't know how much a cafe is going to want to know where exactly they sit in the cafe.
Is it important where I sit? And usually a cafe is that dense that you cannot differentiate somebody sitting there or queuing up for coffee, because it's an arm length away. And even if you would go down to 1 meter, you still could not differentiate between somebody queuing up or having his coffee on a table. But with the presence, as we made the example, we have multiple shops in the city. And in the morning, I pick up my coffee, and I'm detecting in this shop for a few minutes, just queuing up, getting the coffee and getting back to my car. But maybe in the afternoon, I appear in a different shop, close to my Cisco office. I'm showing up. Now okay, this guy is having his coffee regularly in the morning, just picking it up. But then I see him in the afternoon, maybe 45 minutes, an hour, sitting in a coffee shop close by his office. You don't know it's my office yet, but you could start correlating this data and see, okay, I have a returning visitor And this is something unique to Wi-Fi analytics. Returning visitors or cross-shopping, because you identify my MAC address. In the morning and in the afternoon, you see my MAC address showing up. People counting can be done very, very well with the door counters. So you exactly know how many people might be in your shop.
Yeah.
But you don't know that the same person is appearing in a different shop. That's unique to Wi-Fi. Another thing that is unique to Wi-Fi is I can measure the dwell time. How long am I staying? If you only have the door counter, you exactly know how many people are in the shop, but you don't know how long they are staying. You don't know if this person was just left the shop here for 5 minutes or 1 minute or whatever. And you can, again, this is Wi-Fi, because I'm connected to the Wi-Fi for a period of time. You can look at the dwell time, how much time am I really spending here. That's why you can differentiate between picking up my coffee in the morning in just 5 or 6 minutes, spending an hour in the afternoon.
Okay. So how would companies use this type of information, like the presence information?
So the presence information, as I said, you get a little more insight how your customers are behaving, and you get a little bit more insights about the location, how the customers are behaving in the location.
How busy a store is, pretty much?
How the busy the store is.
Okay.
You can have a graph over the day. I have a peak in the morning, I have a peak at lunchtime.
So you could decide to like maybe open it up half an hour earlier because you have more people or things like that?
Staff planning.
Staff planning,
people are working there. Are people queuing up in the morning it starts to get more than 10 minutes? Think about the convention center here.
Yeah.
When you have a hotel near the convention center and you want to grab a coffee
Solutions
there,
isn't open yet, or coffee line's long, right outside across.
How do you know?
Yeah.
You can do some guessing, you have your experience, but the Wi-Fi analytics gives you the proof that you might need more staff in the morning, and maybe you can get a few people, and then you can say, okay, I don't need them between 11 and 5 because my shop is purely the one where people just come in, grab the coffee before and after work.
Okay.
And what would the difference be with, we have the RSSI based, now you have Bluetooth beacons that are in there now, and we got the AP4800 that has them built in, and where in the 3700s we had the hyperlocation module. Like, I can see that being pushed more now towards the infrastructure side. It sounds like location-based services is going to be very important now and in the future, which means analytics is going to be even more important for businesses to actually create action items on those. So where do you see this going now that it's in the 4800 itself?
When we talk about Bluetooth, we are mainly talking about Bluetooth Low Energy beacons for proximity-based messaging.
Okay.
So you're setting up the beacon maybe here on the podcast booth, and that could trigger a notification inside an application. It could have welcomed me. Hey, welcome. Hey, Christian, welcome. Your appointment is...
Yeah, please subscribe to the Clear to Send.
The bank visitor, right?
Yeah.
But this definitely requires the user to install an application.
Okay.
The beauty now with the 4800 is we can do BLE location, so we can locate BLE tags, BLE devices, like your iPhone would be possible. And there we are really shifting away from the use case of analytics. We are more going into a kind of asset management use case with BLE, using BLE as a tag because it's much, much cheaper as the traditional Wi-Fi RFID tag we had in the past. And there we're a little bit moving into the asset management, asset location use cases. But coming back to the original idea, using Bluetooth for something, if you use it for location, it always requires an application on the phone. And the phone knows where it is. Wi-Fi, the infrastructure knows where the devices are, allows us to create analytics without any further interaction, any further application on the device. That's the beauty of Wi-Fi analytics, because the infrastructure is locating the device, doing the calculation, doing the analytics. When you think about Bluetooth Low Energy, I'm using my phone, have an application installed, coming in the range of an iBeacon, pops up a message, but the infrastructure doesn't know about it. The iPhone would now need to talk home to say, hey, I'm here, what should I do? That would allow us a little bit of analytics, but not much. The application would need to run.
So does that tie at all? That doesn't change much for location-based analytics, or does it add to it? Does it add a little bit more, I guess, analytics that you can gather from Bluetooth? Or are we strictly saying the Wi-Fi portion is really where you're going to get the most out of it because it's RSSI based, because our devices are always sending out beacons?
So once you manage to get the Wi-Fi devices connected to your network, I would definitely focus on that, connected devices. BLE has its use cases, but BLE location on the device itself always requires an app, while Wi-Fi only does not require an app. If you want to use wayfinding here at Cisco Live, you could go to a website, click on the button, it will work. Because CMX is locating you, the website has a few things embedded, so you don't need necessarily to install an application to do wayfinding at Cisco Live.
Okay.
You look like you have a question, Francois. He's deep in thought.
No, I was thinking, could we have, how they have standards, IEEE standards? Do you think we could have a standard or an amendment that would be dedicated for location in Wi-Fi? That would we have specific packets that, I don't know, I was just thinking about it, but do you think that's something that would be doable?
And again, this is then device-based calculation of your locations, 11MC.
Yeah.
Where you start measuring the distance very accurate.
Maybe you could get more information
frame and all that. But that again is device-based location.
Yeah.
It will help in many situations like wayfinding. It would be fantastic to have that because it's super accurate. But for analytics, you need to find a way to get this information back into the infrastructure to collect the analytics.
Okay, so talking about that, once you have, so if we're talking about the whole system, Cisco infrastructure, you're getting the information out of the APs or clients, and then it's going to CMX. And then what do we do from there? Do we have any application APIs to link that information to other applications? Our organization developing their own application to get this data and do something else with it, or?
Yes, we do. We have a very powerful API
to
two directions. It can be a push and a pull API.
Okay.
If you want to, we're doing analytics and we've figured out a few numbers which we want to present there.
Okay.
But our customers might want to see something completely different.
Yeah.
Or they think calculating the number, I want to have a different formula for that.
Okay.
And to do that, what we could do is send more or less the raw data via location notifications to a webhook. So CMX will go and for every location calculation the system is doing, send this X and Y, including all the other stuff, MAC address of the device and so on, to a webhook where you could do then your own analytics based on that.
Could we trigger some, or could we automate some tasks based on the analytics we're getting from CMX? I'm thinking about, I don't know if it's doable, but I'm thinking about, a space like this one. In the morning, you have no one in the space, so you could potentially have some of the access point down. And then as you see more people coming into the space, and as the system detects that more devices are coming into the space, you could start turning some access point on.
I really fear that you want to take care of the RF and keep it as clean as possible.
Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of like the idea.
There are a few things that you might be able to do, but that's nothing that we directly provide.
Okay.
But something even more important, as you mentioned, the APIs we have.
Yeah.
What we could do is monitor the zones and the fill level of zones, so that you say, okay, the World of Solution now has 1,000 people in here.
Can you go into zones real quick for those who don't know? I know for me, when I started, zone is something you outline on the floor plan. So what do you exactly do with the zones?
So on the one hand, you can use the zones for analytics and start counting how many people have spent time in this particular zone.
Okay.
Of course, the zone size has to match a little bit how accurate your location is.
Yeah.
When your location is always jumping 5 meters left and right, we are still 5 meter accurate, which is very, very good, especially for big venues, and good enough for most use cases. But then start thinking about the small booth like we see here around.
Yeah.
The booth itself is only 3 by 3 meters.
Yeah.
This zone would be definitely too small because you have a lot of jumpiness. But if you say my zone size really matches how accurate my Wi-Fi location is, you could really start counting inside the zone, how many people are inside the zone. And then you can set up automated APIs. If you say, I fetch the number of these zones every 5 or 10 minutes, and as soon as the threshold is exceeded, I do something.
Okay.
Think about the lunch area. How much space do we have here for lunch? Maybe send people to a different lunch place.
Yeah. Okay.
Or maybe you can go send a message to the cook and say, okay, it's time to bring more lunches from
Bring
the
more
back.
food. But definitely something you need to do externally, but with the power of CMX, which does the...
And you leverage that through the APIs that's within CMX, so you can pull that data, put it somewhere, and act upon that data somehow. How do you see API used, like in this type of space, conferences? Because I can see CMX and location-based analytics used a lot here, right? You want to know, I guess this might get complicated, I could offer this service to any of these guys here exhibiting and provide them with analytics data for their zone. Is that possible?
Yeah.
So as long as the zone is large enough, you could do that.
I mean, some of these guys got huge booths.
Yeah. But what you could do definitely is create a dashboard for them that APIs into CMX, because every number we are presenting on the GUI, you could also get via an API call.
Okay. So you can create their own dashboard, and they only see their data.
They only see their data then.
Okay. So it's a multi-tenant.
It's not really a multi-tenancy on the CMX itself.
On the CMX side, but you can make it.
But you can make it.
Okay.
What's the other beauty of the APIs? How do you count people in another way, with the door counters or something else? We know how many batch scans we have. We might know how many tickets we have sold for this day or something. And you need to correlate the data, because counting devices is not equal to counting people.
Yeah.
Right.
How many devices did you bring here and there on the network?
I mean, my GoPro here has Wi-Fi.
It's 3-4 devices at a tech show. If we think about, I don't know, a pet show about dogs and cats and all that, how many devices would a person bring? It would be maybe 2 devices per family.
Yeah.
You bring 3 kids and the parents, and it might be just 2 devices for 5 people.
Yeah.
And the relative number would always follow the same graph over the day. So more people, more devices, less people, less devices.
Yeah.
But you need to have a factor to get from the number of Wi-Fi devices to the number of people.
Yeah. So how would you recommend somebody do that and getting that factor?
Bring data together.
Okay.
Bring the data from multiple systems you have that can provide you with insights into one dashboard. Then you say, okay, I have an API into CMX. I get the numbers from CMX here. I have an API into my door counters. I have an API going into my cache systems. So you even know how much did you sell during this day, for example.
I have one question. It's
can you get some listener questions?
Yeah, can you get location-based analytics without CMX? I don't know if it's a tricky question, but
so
like just a controller and APs.
Just the controller and the APs. You would need to API SNMP into the controller and do something based on that.
Okay.
Which would not be very, very powerful, because SNMP is a very old.
And let's say you have Prime. You have a controller Prime.
Prime is counting devices. Yes, you could do that, but it would not be very location specific.
Okay.
It would be no more an overall usage, total number of connected clients during the day.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you would need to create all the zones you cannot do in Prime. There are no Prime features that allow you to create a zone, which then give you a number of clients in there.
Okay.
For location, you need somebody who is doing all the math, who takes the RSSI signal and does the X and Y.
Okay.
That's good. Yeah, any other questions?
I had another question. I need to get to it if you have another one in the meantime.
So I noticed, CMX is primarily an appliance. Is there any push to put any of that in a cloud-based system to leverage the compute power you have in the cloud, to leverage scaling? How do you see Cisco going with that as far as CMX being easily available to people to use?
So first we have to satisfy the IT security guys a little bit, of course. Where's my data going? Am I willing that my controller has a kind of connection into the internet? Because we need the measurements from the access points coming through the controller to CMX. Today we're using a protocol called NMSP. So controller talks NMSP to CMX, and there are all the measurements and all that in there. Yes, we are looking into cloud, and in the very near future, you will see a location happening in the cloud. We need to find a way to proxy the NMSP data, change it into something web-friendly, HTTPS, and then it will be sent to the cloud, and we can do the location there. And of course, it will solve all our scaling questions. Because big show, big company having hundreds of controllers, thousands of access points, don't want to maintain necessarily many CMXs on every location or something. They might want to leverage cloud. And of course, it's very fantastic then because you can much easier integrate into the APIs then. You don't have to think about a firewall or something that's in the cloud. You have your token, your access token.
You just got to send the data securely there.
Yeah.
The question I had was related to the floor plans. So when you do location-based services or analytics, you need a really good floor plan to look at, right? If that's something you want to send to management team or whatever, or even to the users on their phone. How do you see company dealing with those challenges? Do they ask the marketing team to come up with floor plans? Do they do it themselves? Do they export it from the architecture basic floor plan?
So we start in Prime. We usually start with something coming from the architect, from the building construction. Looking at this venue here, it will most likely not even have the booths in there. It might have the pillars or something, which are the building itself that might be in there. This would not have helped me to find the booth here, right? I was on the other corner and this pillar, no. I would not be. Yes, you're right. We need something. A floor plan which we can present to the user at the end, which he might be able to understand reading. A shop has its fresh food, frozen food, non-food areas, get its color markings and all that. And we have a few partners being very, very excellent doing this. So what you get from CMX then is you get the XY. It can even be in GPS XY with longitude, latitude. And our partners would put this and take this XY and display this as a blue dot on your map.
So it might just not be the engineering team involved in a location-based project. It might be other teams also, like maybe a team developing a mobile app, maybe the marketing coming up with...
So for sure, in any conversation regarding location-based services, you need a user behind that. For analytics, it's most likely a marketing department that's interested in it. For wayfinding, it might be the marketing department offering additional service to their customers because they are taking care of the customers. It's not the IT department. The IT department provides us with connectivity. So talking to the IT department would definitely not reveal the use cases the customer might have. So you have to have the conversation with marketing.
Well, I think a lot of the teams too are converging, where some of us have to play alongside with marketing or know a little bit, especially some of the companies that have slim teams. I mean, how do some of these guys get started into using location-based analytics? Like, what do they need to know? Because we talked about different components. You have Cisco Prime that can feed maps into CMX. You got your controllers, your APs. You got to have good design. I mean, what else is there that, like, someone that you would tell that's getting started?
First, find the use case. Find something somebody in a company is very, very interested in. It might be just looking at numbers of people in a shop. It might be a asset tracking, asset management solution based on location-based services. Where are my important tools in the factory, for example? Find a use case and build the location-based solution around that. I did site surveys for a large part of my life, maybe 8-9 years I did site surveys, and the first question you ask the customer, what do you want to do with your Wi-Fi? Today I want to do data only, but I might think about voice in the near future. And of course, maybe I want to do location-based service in the further future. Okay, but what do you want today now what you want me to do. I can only create one design because coverage requires maybe 3-4 access points for this area. Voice might require 6 to 10 access points for this area. Location might require 12 to 15 access points to cover the same area. What do you want me to do? Can we start with basic data and then maybe you say, okay, give me it is completely different patterns. I had a few projects where we found a use case immediately for location-based services which justified and gave a return of invest of this additional investment, additional access points in less than 9 months.
Okay.
If you have a use case, there's a justification. The beauty of it, the IT department will get more access points. They're always happy if they have more gears, more switches, more power, and they can build a really good network, which they want to do. It's not the way around, okay, now you did the site survey for voice, maybe we do it in the future. Okay, can we reduce it by 10% of APs and have it cheap? Find a good use case on location-based services, you will get a fantastic network at the end.
All right.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that was a really good conversation. Do you have another question? I have one last question to close this episode. It's related to how they track the steps on the application. Do you have any idea how they do it? I know they're using CMX.
So Francois was talking about the Cisco Live app for the listeners who probably didn't attend, and somehow it tracks your steps.
Yeah, so you have this activity that can track your steps, and then it tells you how many miles or kilometers you...
We have someone outside, a listener outside. Robert Boardman says it's on the floor.
Okay.
The floor is tracking.
Oh, okay.
We have a very thick carpet here. And you can really feel it now. It's based on Wi-Fi, it's based on movement distance, and we just give you an average how many steps.
Yeah, so they've calculated how many steps... How many steps are in this amount of distance?
Yes. Okay.
So it's nothing related to the tag we have. So this is not going to add my.
There's a little tag
back
of
the badge. Everybody here has an additional Bluetooth tag. Which is not based.
That's just
on
a badge
the Cisco
people
infrastructure. It's a badging thing and proximity thing.
Okay.
We have a few sensors this route here.
Well, that means you take bigger steps, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, that's cool. Well, at Cisco Live, are there any sessions that people should look into that you know of?
So first we had a few exhibitions here at the Cisco booths where you can have a look at operational insights. For example, the asset management I mentioned a few times. There's the BRKEWN 2012 session looking at location-based services and CMX.
Awesome. Well, you have anything else, Francois, before we end?
No, I really enjoyed the discussion. And,
I think it was a lot to take in for me, being that I just installed CMX last week, and then I came here going, I need to figure out more about.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, but I think for companies they have another challenge is choosing between Wi-Fi or another technology to do asset tracking or location-based services. So
in most cases you already have
but we have Wi-Fi already installed.
Yeah, exactly. So that I guess that would be the advantage of Wi-Fi, and everyone uses Wi-Fi, so you know that especially in public places, you know they're going to be connected.
And then we are back to the coffee shop, which originally installed the Wi-Fi to give a little bit of connectivity. Why not using it and get some data back and get some insights into how your business is running?
There you go.
All right, perfect.
Well, awesome. Thank you for joining us here at the podcast domain at Cisco Live. It was a pleasure to have you here and bringing this insight you have. It was very good, a lot of information, and I'm probably going to have to go out there and check out the demos you guys have and see what else I need to do.
Thank you, Christian. Are you on Twitter? Can people find you online or something?
Where can people find you?
Where can people find me? At Cisco.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Christian.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.